Hey everybody, my name is Anthony, and in today's video we're going to be doing another installment of my track guide series. If you want to see the track guides that I've already done up until this point, then make sure to click the top right hand side of the screen and you'll go to a playlist that has all the track guides I've already done. And if you want to stick around for future track guides that I'll be doing, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and like this video. So getting straight into it, as usual, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to take you on a slow lap discussing how I would take this track. Then I'll show you a hot lap that I've personally done, which you see the time in the title already, and then we'll take a look at the setup, and that's where we'll end things. So coming off the final corner, you want to be in first gear when you're hitting the apex, and then you want to shift up to second and then short shift up to third, just so that you can really get that power down as quickly as possible. And then you would obviously open up DRS as soon as you can. This is a pretty long sort of start finish straight, so you can lose quite a bit of time just on the sort of entry to the lap in general. And then for this corner, you want to be out wide as possible. France have very low curbs, so a lot of them you can really attack even during the race, so you don't really necessarily need to worry about being on the inside of the track during race, whereas you can come out a little bit wide during qualifying. You can do this in the race as well because of how non-aggressive these curbs are. So you want to be on the outside here, you want to be in 8th gear and follow this dark patch, because if you don't use the racing line, obviously you can't see the sort of green and red arrow in front of you. This dark patch is essentially the ideal racing line, so you can really follow it and get good lines throughout the track. So follow the dark patch. You want to brake as close to this front curb here as you can in 8th gear, then shift down into 5th, and then one last downshift into 4th as you come across this corner. And then don't go too far out to the left, because you want to prioritize this corner coming up, because there is a long straight after it. So stay towards the middle of the track, and then in 5th gear, right over that curb. Try not to go wide here. And then once you get to 7th gear, you want to stay in 7th gear. And then just after the 100 meter board, closer towards the 50 meter board, you want to be a little bit out wide here. Break down into 4th for this corner, right over this curb. Then break down into 3rd for this corner, hug this curb. And then a little bit of a tap on the brake, down into 2nd, down into 1st, right over that corner, back up to 2nd. Then come over across here, get the power down as quickly as you can, back to the right, and then cut this corner here for turn 7. And then you've got this long DRS straight once again. And then coming up to this next corner now, you want to be out wide once again. In quali, you definitely want to be on out wide here, but in the race, if you feel more comfortable, just stay on the inside. Either way, the braking point's the same, the turn-in point's the same. It's just you get more of a better line through this corner. You can really attack it more when you're outside. So on the outside here, brake at the 100 meter board in 8th gear. Brake in a complete straight line as usual, and then start to turn, trail brake into the corner, down into 4th for this corner. You can ride that curb, and then hug this curb down into 3rd gear, and then try and get the best exit you can. Ride over this curb, but don't ride over it too much, or else you will get a warning or an invalidation if you're in a time trial. And then you've got this long straight followed by a corner which is completely flat out in 8th gear. You don't need to worry about lifting off. In the rain, however, you will need to lift off there. Coming up to this corner now, this is a pretty tricky corner, so you want to be on the outside, and then you want to slowly come in towards the inside. You're still flat out at this point, and then as you're coming up towards this inside curb, that's where you want to start braking and shifting down. So you want to probably brake maybe about roughly 50%, and then slowly downshift through the gears as you're turning in around the corner. Lift off the brakes right around about here. You can completely just let go of the brakes. Don't go back on the throttle yet. Then as soon as you start coming closer towards this corner now, you should be in 4th gear at this point. Shift back up to 5th, and then start applying the power down. Then come out a little bit wide, and then this next corner is pretty tricky as well. What I like to do is, it is a pretty difficult corner to really get right, but it's sort of similar to turn 10 at Bahrain. This red square here, very difficult to see. However, you could probably, if I just reverse here quickly, you could probably use, I'll probably zoom in post-production, this left-hander where you see the curb start. You can also use that as a reference point if you can't see this red square. It is very difficult to see that red square, especially when you're going at like 100, you know, like 130 roughly miles per hour. So you could use that side there, left-hand side, use that curb as sort of reference, start braking, want to be out wide, then down into 3rd gear, hug this corner as you can at the late apex and get the power down as quickly as possible. Stay on the right hand side, and then right after the 50-meter board, right where this is a pretty difficult one to really get right if you don't know what you're doing. So sort of, you can see how this this little paint, it sort of goes in a sort of squiggle line there. Right when it starts to come away from you, that's where you sort of brake and start turning in. And then you've got the pit lane entry there. You want to stay towards the left hand side, down into fourth. You can ride this curb, but if you ride it too much, you will get a warning. Then shift back down into first here. Get the apex right, up to second, short shift off the third, get the power down as quickly as possible, open up DRS, and that is pretty much a lap of Paul Ricard. And as you can see, they've actually moved the start finish straight a bit further away than they did last year. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the lap that's in the title. It's not the best lap. I didn't really spend too long getting it. I probably can get into the 27s pretty comfortably if I spent enough time here at this track, but then after that I'll show you my setup, so make sure to stick around for that. Hey guys, so here we are now at the setup. I'm just going to make this one short and sweet and just show you the setup and then sort of talk about certain things if I see fit. So getting into the aerodynamics, 3.5, you want to still have a little bit of downforce, especially in certain corners, but this track, there's a lot of straights and there's a lot of flat out corners, so you definitely don't want to have too much downforce. So I mean, I would suggest maybe even going 2.5 if you feel comfortable, or maybe 3.4 if you really feel comfortable. I personally don't. We've got the standard 50-65 coming back to this setup. Not much really to say there other than it's standard. And then for this one, high camber, low toe. That's how it usually works, especially on these sort of tracks. And then for the suspension, I've gone 3.4, 6.8 and 1.3. You can really go quite aggressive with the ride height because of how low the curbs are on this track. They're not aggressive at all. So yeah, pretty much for that, that's why I've gone for that. And then the brakes, 95 and 53. There is still quite a lot of straight line braking, but at the same time there is quite a few corners where you have to sort of brake and turn at the same time. So I've gone a little bit lower on the front brake bias, and if you feel comfortable you can go up to 100% on the brake pressure if you want. I just personally have 95. And then for the tires, I've gone pretty standard, 23 at the front and then 20.7 at the back. So yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. If you wanted to see more track guides like this, then please consider hitting the like button and sticking around by subscribing to the channel. We're almost at 500 subscribers, so if we can hit that relatively soon, that would mean the absolute world to me. So I'll see you guys in my next video.